And boom, according to that, I am live. Welcome. My name is Hiko Simon. This is Tokyo Tonight. I am back in Japan. I'm mostly back in Japan. I am not back in Japan in the sense that I'm still, it's actually good that I've been 4 hours ahead in time zone. New Zealand, by the way, I should lower this a little bit so I can get some more light on me. Hope everyone can hear me okay. New Zealand is only 1 hour less than Hawaii. Hawaii is 5 hours ahead of Japan. New Zealand is 4 hours ahead. So the reason I've not been doing the live stream at this time is because it would be 2:30 in the morning New Zealand time. And on top of New Zealand being further ahead, when I was in New Zealand, I was getting into the kind of healthier life habits of waking up and going, kind of New Zealand habits of going to sleep. The whole house was asleep at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And everyone else in the house was up at like 5 o'clock. I was getting up. Geez, what time was I getting up? Like before 7 every morning anyway, which was sleeping in by the standards of the house. Audio is dreadful. Why is that? Let me have a look. Okay. Technical issues. Let me change the mic. And boom, 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 boom. Oh, it's kind of maxing out. Is this better if I turn down the gain? Oh, why is it freaking out like that? Hello. That is so weird. Okay, let's just switch to the link. How about this? Wow, this is also freaking out here. What is happening here? What if I do this? I can see that my mic is maxing out at the moment on the internal test thing. That is so weird. What could be causing this? Hello? Why is that so sensitive? I'll be back. Do not know what's happening. I'm going to reboot the computer. I'm back. Now the camera's not working. Let's fix this. Okay, the sound should at least be better. But what is happening with the camera? It is almost a podcast. Boom. Okay, is the sound better? I just turned the volume all the way down. I don't know why that was so hypersensitive just now. In fact, sorry, I'm going to troubleshoot this live. I don't really understand why that was acting so weird. Wow, so the gain is all the way down. I'm going to turn down the mic volume here. So this should be better, right? I don't know what was wrong there, but anyway, let me quickly share the screen. I've got to set this up all over again. And we're back. We're cooking. Can you see all of that now? Video is good now. Audio hopefully is good. The sound meter indicates it's good. I don't know why it was maxing out like that. Final check of settings. Wow, it looks like even my computer, I haven't touched this computer, like I only got back on Friday and I haven't live streamed anything. The settings should all be the same as when I left. I don't know why it's acting so weird. But anyway, doesn't matter. We are back. And it's good to see all of you again. So let's just start all over again. We're 8 minutes in. I was just asleep before this. I've been crashing every night kind of healthily at 10 o'clock, which is 2 a.m. by New Zealand time. And I only got back like Thursday night. And I had to go into work on Friday morning. But even in New Zealand, not only was it 4 hours ahead, but also I was, well, come think of it, actually, I was in the habit of going to sleep early and waking up early in New Zealand. I was getting up, going for a run, going to the gym before 7 a.m. So I decided I'd try to keep that habit. When I got back, I've been going to sleep at 10:30 p.m., which, Japan, I find I'm always going to sleep. And most people I know go to sleep at like 1 o'clock and wake up at like 7:30 and get through the day on coffee. But I kind of being on basically a farm for the last 3 weeks. It's been wonderful. It's been very cut off from the world. The Starlink means that I could watch YouTube no problem. So I thought that live streaming would be fine, but as you saw, it does cut out. And I notice this with video games as well. If I'm playing Fortnite, sometimes I'll play a game, and when it switches from satellites, your connection drops for a while. And that happened during the live stream. And I also found that uploading speeds were very slow. So when I tried uploading pre-recorded videos, thinking that would be a fast workaround, that was difficult for, So yes, it was kind of fun. You got to see me out on the outside, the outside dinner table where I was enjoying the New Zealand summer. New Zealand actually wasn't, although it was summer, I'm used to going to Queensland and Australia, which is a bit like Florida, I think. In terms of climate, it's basically, there's no winter there. And it's sort of tropical, subtropical. But it's constantly sort of warm. New Zealand summer, the nights are cold. It gets down to like, 10 degrees Celsius some nights. And some days we had the southerly wind, which in New Zealand, southerly wind is cold. It meant that even during the days, it was only going up to 20, 21. It was actually chilly during a lot of the days. But that sort of made it nice. And New Zealand has sort of like English summers anyway. So, had a great time. I am still, I admit, the fact that I was just asleep before the show shows that I'm still readapting to being back in Japan, definitely. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back on the regular streaming schedule. I'm glad that all the regular people can join finally live, and let's go through because, Dan H., good to see you again. And the flight back was pretty smooth. We actually had to be at the airport in Kerikeri in New Zealand. Dryness is another thing I need to adapt to. We needed to be at the airport by 5 a.m. for the 6 a.m. flight to check through for the international seating and tickets and customs. So basically, we were there at 5 o'clock in the morning and we arrived in Japan at about 8 p.m. which I suppose New Zealand, would be midnight. So it was a long day of flying, 16 hours. 10 hours from Auckland to Tokyo. Not as far as I thought. I always thought there was 13 hours for some reason. But then there's a 3-hour wait and a 1-hour flight and a 1-hour early check-in at the airport. But no, it was a Air New Zealand flight. How was it? It is what it is. It's probably Qantas has slipped a bit, so it's not bad. The food was pretty good actually. The service was nothing to speak of, but it is pretty much the only way in and out of New Zealand. So yeah, it was pretty smooth. It was good to have, and thank you for asking. Cobra Stenshin, damn, second. Well, that's fine. He's glad that you could make it. Void Theft, glad that you can make it too. And thank you everybody, by the way, who both has liked the video today and has been leaving comments. Void Theft has been doing that a lot. Yeah, Cobra Stenshin, apparently the Korean First Lady plagiarized her doctorate thesis. That's terrible. I mean, it's Korea, so part of me doesn't care. But at the same time, but with everything going on in Korea at the moment, I heard that there were all sorts of problems around the First Lady. Presumably, this is Yoon's wife. He's going to end up in jail, obviously. I think in the end of the day, when the husband tries a military coup to take over the country, the substance of the First Lady's thesis becomes less important. But I'm sure these all add up. Enjoy the milk and cookies. Hope everybody's doing that. Lara, great to see you in the comments, and good evening to everybody. Mr. Cordy Chap, hello from Australia. We've got Erin, good morning from a very chilly looking good morning. I've been complaining at the cold here in Tokyo, and it has been cold. I actually joined a gym because I am running the Tokyo Marathon exactly 2 months from now, less than 2 months from now. Crap. And I was running every day in New Zealand, and it is like, I'm about to complain about the cold in Tokyo when you have it worse, but it's like -1 or 0 in the mornings here. And today it only got up to 8 degrees. And I want to run before breakfast. That was some advice I got from my stepmother about training, which I'm going to take, about running on an empty stomach so that your body learns how to run without fuel, which it will need for the marathon. And it's just hard to get motivated to go out when you know that you're going to be inhaling all this cold air that's going to make my nose runny and all this sort of stuff. So I figure what I was doing in America when I was in Seattle, when I was fit, and when I did the half marathon there super fast, was I was using a treadmill inside the building all the time. And at least during the winter, until it gets warm again, I think actually having a gym where I can, plus I was enjoying working out with my dad, something I picked up in New Zealand. I've been loading the guns, which I don't have. Yes, been building some muscle, which I guess. So I joined a gym today, actually, and I'm going to start running from tomorrow. Plan is tomorrow morning, but we'll see how I do after the show. Yes, I've got to get into some sort of shape. So I'm doing that partly just because I don't want to get up and run in the freezing cold 0 degrees. But I'm sure where you are, Erin, I'm sure it is much, 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 much worse. And people would be running in singlets probably if they had Tokyo type weather. The good thing about Japan, of course, is that Tokyo has amazing winters. It's sunny all the time. The rest of Japan buried in snow and complaining. Tokyo's complaining and it's sunny and like 8 degrees. Tadom, great to see you, Tadom. Loves the t-shirt. Yes, the Goonies, of course. Do Goonies never say die. Is that what they say? I think that's what they say. It's one of the lines anyway. So yes, hopefully we fixed the audio. Everyone says it's better, so I'll take that. Shubha's glad that you can make it in from Panama. We've got the whole gang is back. Hope everyone is enjoying. For those, of course, I couldn't really do a proper live stream from New Zealand, so I guess this is the first proper 2025 live stream. So great to see everybody checking in, including you, Sadiq. Great to see you in here. Worse. Wait. No. This is before I rebooted. Okay. The mic is gargling. Yes, I am in a wind tunnel. That's terrible. I plugged it in and I unplugged it and plugged it in again. So I did all of that. Everybody, indeed, it seems like Japan causes more technical issues. Japan does that. It's basically the whole, since 1990, Japan's been having technical issues. It's been a great live streaming show that's had technical issues pretty much economically since the bubble burst. Gremlins again. Black Tengu, good to have our man in from Greece. Great to have everybody in here. Okay, video is good now. You haven't seen me in the hiko in the kimono drawing in forever. Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. The thing there. You can see me, you can hear me. The computer felt neglected. Yes, it was giving me squirrels. Sound is good. Did Junior like his time in New Zealand? He loved the time in New Zealand. It's been kind of tough since the pandemic, kids don't want to go outside. They don't want to see people. They mask up and hoodie up and do everything. And, to persuade them to do anything outside has been really tough. So going to the summer to a 5-acre property with dogs to play with and everything, I think, he really loved it. It's kind of funny talking to him now. A part of him sounds like he didn't want to come back. Although we all have to come back. I believe I didn't want to come back either in some levels. But it was a great trip. It was just me and the lad, but it was actually really, really good. So my son enjoyed it a lot. I think he did a lot of things he's never done before. I got to catch up. I was surprised. I got to catch up with some friends, a friend from high school who happened to have a place close by in New Zealand terms. It was like 90 minutes drive away, but that's relatively close given the part of the country I was in. I think you can see from my Instagram some of the photos, some of the amazing beaches up in that part of the far north of New Zealand that I'm not that used to being in. So yes, Sadiq, make New Zealand Florida again, or more to the point, Australia. Queensland is very much like Florida. So yeah, Shubha's back to regularly scheduled programming. Indeed, DJ Sunnyside, I'm glad that you could make it from Kochi. Hope you're having a happy new year. Dan H is back in UK after being in Munich for 4 weeks. Wow, I'm curious now. What were you in Munich for? Hope you had a great time in Munich. Drank some beer. That's about the only thing I can really think of. Drove a BMW. Is that Munich? I think that's Munich. Anyway, Qantas has slipped more than just a bit. Yes, it's basically. It's funny. You don't want to use crash metaphors to describe an airline's economic performance, but there we go. I did manage to tear myself away from New Zealand. It was lovely, but honestly, the problem with the whole description of why I left New Zealand in the first place, it's lovely, but what am I going to do there? But yeah, I look forward to the chance to go back. All Korean presidents end up in jail. Says Aaron, not true. Ro committed suicide, so you can get out of it. I'm sorry. There's no angle on Korean politics that is not dark. So yes, that is where they end up. 12 inches of snow last week. It's finally starting to melt today. Wow, that is some coldness there. And yes, they all do. Loading up the guns. Yes. Not really. Don't really have guns yet, but and I'm okay. I like where I'm at. But yes, Vincent Birch, our man from Taranaki. I grew up. I lived for a long time. I grew up all over the place in New Zealand, but I think I mentioned I lived in Waihuru, so Tongariro for a while. We used to be able to see Mount Egmont, Mount Taranaki from where we were. But our Naki man, mate, you mentioned 2025. You were thinking about having a few wee meetups. What exactly were you thinking? Well, I've done meetups in the past, normally around the Hanami, normally around the sort of end of March, start of April time. A lot of people come and visit Tokyo at that time. And I organized a few of the YouTube sort of Hanami parties that I think Zach has taken over. The Hanami parties themselves are a pain to look after. A lot of work involved, a lot of people making a lot of weird demands and so on, and making sure everyone's taken care of. So I'm glad other people are taking care of that. But I think selfishly, maybe around that same time, around that sort of end of March period, particularly if we have people coming into Tokyo and making plans to come at that time, yeah, I'd love to actually just do as much as it's fun organizing a YouTuber Hanami for everything, the community isn't what it used to be. Maybe if I could convince Victor to come up, that'd be great. But hell, why not just make it I suppose I have a bit of a fear of doing a Hiko Simon meetup and like 2 people show up. I mean, 2 people would be cool, honestly. I would be okay with that, but also but yeah, maybe do a wee party of some sort. In any case, as is always the case, if any of you are in Tokyo visiting or whatever, hit me up. I am not abroad in Japan. I am you don't need to go through my agent. I am normally able to make time unless there's of course, if I'm traveling or there's something up, I can't. But anyway, pretty much everyone who hits me up, I can arrange to meet, normally for lunch, normally near where I work. Weekdays work best like that. But in any case, always happy to do a meetup. But yeah, to do some sort of an organized meetup and maybe a bit of a DJ thing or something. Yeah, I'd love to do that this year. I'd love to do something organized. So there we go. Moon is not in jail yet, but yeah, I think that the president was working on that. So yes, indeed. And yes, I agree. Well, the important thing on this trip was to make sure my son had a good experience of New Zealand because he hasn't had much chances to go there. And I think he had a really good experience. So yes, that is a thing. And fly out to Japan, but it will be Ramadan. Oh, well, I mean, you can do Ramadan in Japan, but of course, yeah, everything's harder like that. The food is harder and everything else. And if you've got plans for proper Ramadan along with Ramadan parties, I think you want to be where that is at. So, yeah, DJ party. Well, like I said, I've got no fixed plan, but I want to do this. I've actually been, I've had my eye on multiple small places that I could book that could fit like what I guess it would be like about 20 or 30 people or whatever, and you have a proper party or whatever, and with a sound system that I'd like to DJ on. So I'm looking at some places so I could do this. I think the time to pencil in calendar would be final week of March. That would be a good time to do something like this. If I can get organized, that would be a good time to do that. So let's do something. Maybe I announce it. Maybe again, I'm just a couple of days back in Tokyo. Even my microphone is still freaking out, and I was asleep at the time that this stream was supposed to start, and it's already 10:57. I haven't started the topics yet. But yeah, man. In fact, that's right. DJ Sunny set up. You mentioned that you would be coming up to Tokyo around then, so maybe we do something around that time, whatever. So yeah, we can pencil in some dates to do something. And by the way, Sunny, whatever happens, let's just make sure we meet up when you're in Tokyo, if you're able to, if you can spare some time. So all of that said, topics. I've honestly kind of enjoyed. I've been on pretty much a YouTube social media hiatus, given the state of social media and everything at the end of 2024. It was actually quite nice to take a break, just to kind of cut off from everything the way that I did when I was in New Zealand. It was a really healthy sort of a life. I'm getting back into it, but I had to cram through the topics tonight, and so I don't have a lot, but that should make it easier to do. Again, from the last things that I posted, including the tweet for the show, this is all, by the way, I am now fully on Blue Sky, at least. I'm still on Twitter, and you can still message me. I'm still promoting the show there, but rather than double post all these topics, I'm just going to be sharing topics, at least from Blue Sky. So all these posts are there. I just posted everything once rather than twice tonight. I don't know what I'll do. There's a lot of accounts on Twitter that are still only on Twitter that I like, so I'm going to keep following those. But yeah, we'll see what happens with social media this year. I really don't like that every time I open up Twitter lately, I'm bombarded with slop, with the AI algorithm recommended stuff that I don't want to see. And I find I can at least bookmark feeds that I like on Blue Sky. So and I just see people that I want to see and that I like over there. So thank you for that. So yeah, I think I'm going to be posting more on Blue Sky. There's 4 or 5 accounts that are active on Twitter that are not on Blue Sky yet, that keep me checking in to Twitter. But yeah, I think definitely follow me on Blue Sky if you want to keep up with stuff that I'm commenting on. Plus, there's more space to comment there. There's a lot of reasons why I find it a better site. So the big news coming back, it's kind of funny actually. I had this cold when I was in Korea. Oh, now it's doing the AI stuff. Stop that! Don't react to my hand signals. Is it gonna? I can't escape. I can't escape from the AI. Stop that! Turn all this shenanigans off. Gesture settings off. Okay, so it's just going to stay fixed now, even if I do that, right? Good. When I was in Korea, where it was also freezing cold and they had record cold while I was in Korea, I picked up a bit of a cold that never got really bad, but I just had this cough that just sort of lasted for weeks. And it's kind of funny. I still had it when I went to New Zealand. I couldn't shake it properly. I had it for about 3 or 4 weeks, this low-level cold that sort of never developed but never really got better either. And again, being in summer in New Zealand, having a healthy lifestyle, waking up early, seeing the sun, running every day, It was gone in about a week, and I was just glad to get to be clear and just be normally healthy again. Coming back to Japan, however, all the news is some of the graphs about the pandemic are really alarming. Japan currently has the most extreme flu epidemic that it has ever seen since it started tracking national flu numbers, which apparently was only from 1999. The graph at the moment, and it's not just that, they've also got this, what do they call it? Oh God, there's a thing happening in China that's also happening in Japan. There's COVID and there's flu, A type and B type. Everything is hitting really, really badly. And you come back and everyone is sick in Tokyo. So definitely masks back on. And apparently in Tokyo Station, there is an international clinic in the station, and TV shows are reporting tourists having the flu. Hopefully, I haven't seen or heard anything directly blaming the tourists for the current epidemic in Japan. All I can do is swear that it wasn't me, but it is definitely part of it all. But it's kind of, again, I've just gotten better, and now I come back and I feel like, oh God, it's like I've come back into an epidemic. So I am back to wearing masks, at least when I'm on crowded trains and stuff like that, because I definitely don't want to end up in another sort of situation. You know, I don't, it's too soon for another pandemic. But yeah, wherever you are, but certainly if you're in Japan, do be careful with because flu and everything is apparently going a bit crazy at the moment, and it definitely wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. Some letter that somebody Ars Technica saying that they found in a 161-year-old newspaper archive in New Zealand that a sheep farmer warned in the letters to the editor section, which at some point in New Zealand, if you know New Zealand letters to the editor sections, they cover everything at some point. It's the old version of podcasting. Some sheep farmer predicted AI doom 161 years ago. And here I was thinking that New Zealand was only 4 hours ahead, is my comment. But yeah, he talked about with the advent of machines, we had to get rid of machines because machines could develop a Darwinian sort of consciousness. And they would, you know, and replace people. He sort of thought it all through, basically the same way that we thought through the same idea. It's funny now, if you go back and you look at science fiction from the even before World War II, but certainly right after World War II, when computers sort of emerged, everybody kind of had there was the same hype about artificial intelligence in the 1950s that led to all this sort of science fiction about sort of AI futures and sentient artificial intelligence and so on, that everyone is talking about now. And it was it's funny, I remember seeing on a podcast, I can't remember which one it was, but it was in fact, give me a moment, I just have to take care of something here. Oh, pardon me. Everyone thought when we got computer transistors that getting a computer, being able to have like a programmable computer, that AI was just a software problem. And once we have the technology to be able to program a computer, it would just be a matter of writing software that would make sentient computers, you know, inevitable by 1955. It turned out it was actually a harder problem than just writing some software. But everybody already immediately sort of foresaw the same sort of AI future that we're looking at right now with automation of everything. So, but apparently, again, New Zealanders, what can I say? We're smart people and sheep farmers. One thing I learned about being back in New Zealand on a 5-acre property without much to do, although a Starlink connection, is, yeah, we see the entire world and we have a lot of time to think about it and not many other things to do. So yeah, this guy figured out everything early. So there we go. Also, you know, there is actually a contender. If you look up of course, the first powered flight, the Wright brothers, they claimed the record, but there were some other people. There was a guy in France who was sort of racing and claimed that he got powered flight like a week before the Wright brothers did, and there's some debates about that. But there's also actually another sheep farmer in New Zealand who apparently achieved powered flight like a year before the Wright brothers. It's just that, again, being in New Zealand, there was no one else around to sort of see it, and it didn't meet the sort of witnessed event criteria, but there's an argument that there was a New Zealand sheep farmer who had a lot of time on his hands who even beat the Wright brothers to flight. I think the Wright brothers claim it. The event was properly recorded and followed on, of course, into flight that we have today. But New Zealand sheep farmers have a lot of things pretty well figured out. The sheep saw it. That's absolutely right. The flying cars were also predicted if drones qualify. Well, flying cars is kind of funny. They've always been around the corner. Like, again, flying cars have been predicted and technically possible for like 50 years. It's just no one, I don't think anyone's really figured out how everyone having a flying car would work in practice. So that's another one where, who knows if it will happen, but it's one of those things that's always sort of just around the corner of taking off, a bit like virtual reality or whatever. Technology's there. It's just, are we really ready for it? For you anime fans, and I know that you're there, particularly looking at Kerberos Tenshi and others. Oh, Nessa, good to have you in here. Influenza A hitting the USA as well. Oh, that's right. And the bird flu, H1N1, that's also been going around. Yeah, it's a rough time. But coming back onto anime, apparently Japan has just crossed a major threshold where now over the overseas anime market has finally gotten bigger than the Japanese one. So the question being asked, is this a cultural tipping point? And when you think about it, Japanese anime has kind of like become popular globally in spite of itself. It's like J-pop. Japanese creators of Japanese anime have basically been uninterested in properly distributing, marketing, selling, making available, dubbing anime. And that's kind of, in a way, contributed to the rareness of it. It's contributed to the community subtitling and dubbing that happens within the different sort of communities. That has contributed to the sort of, that kind of community that needed to form around getting access to anime. The fact that anime just wasn't distributed or available, leading to these sort of pirated sites overseas from fans hungry for anime, but unable to get it through legal channels because Japanese companies just weren't interested in selling it. Which is also now being cited as a huge problem that even the Japanese government's trying to chase the sites that are making the content available. But here we go. So kind of in spite of the Japanese anime industry really not understanding its global appeal and not really doing anything to sort of take advantage of its global popularity, probably doesn't even really properly understand its global popularity, in spite of every attempt to self-sabotage itself from success. And look at Korea as an example of how Japan really should have done this sort of thing. In spite of all of that, Japanese anime has finally become more popular, is finally now selling more outside of Japan than inside Japan. And I suspect it could be as big as K-pop. It could be much bigger globally than in Japan if they showed interest in doing so. So maybe it's time that Japanese anime companies realize that they're missing out on a ton of money. The fact that they've achieved all of the fans and popularity that they have in spite of almost like fighting against it. I'm no expert, of course, on anime specifically or the broader economics of it, but I am aware that it's kind of weird in a way how anime has been its own sort of enemy in terms of global distribution. So it's good to see. I'm seeing Sunny. What did you do? I don't know. Sometimes I get distracted by comments and I don't and I don't know what we're talking about, if we're talking about the anime or not. But anyway, it's kind of cool to see that that's finally the whole cool Japan thing. Sometimes the best thing is just for the government to leave things alone. But this is what I was talking about with the flu cases, specifically this graph. This shows through different years from the Christmas period or the end of year period from 2019 to 2020, 2023 to 24. These are the weekly influenza numbers going through December. And as of the start of January, end of December, the current year, 2024, 2025, the line is going sort of off the chart. It's already record numbers, and typically the peak, well, some years the peak has come early. You can see 2023, 2024, it came a bit early. But the latest peak that we typically have is in February, and right now, if this line keeps going, it is heading in to a crazy place. Which is to say, if you are in Japan or coming to Japan, there is already advice going out around this. But wear a mask. I mean, Japanese would wear masks for these things before COVID. That wasn't an invention of COVID. When you live in heavily populated, densely populated sort of cities, it's just common sense. Both not to spread what you have, but also not to catch what everyone else probably has when you're mingling with so many people. Yeah, you just take care of yourself to not make things worse than it is. Kyushu, in particular, is hard hit. So look out if you're going to Oita, Saga, Kagoshima, Miyazaki, or whatever. If you're down there, do take a lot of care. But even in Japan, even COVID-19 is, of course, spreading. So, everybody be careful out there. The numbers are crazy this year. So, yes, be careful. Stay away from people, pretty much, or at least, in Tokyo, I'll tell you what, coming back from a town of 8,000 people on a 5-acre property, just with my family for most of the time, coming back to Tokyo, that was jarring. I was just going past buildings thinking, some of these buildings have more people than the town I just spent 3 weeks in. And it wasn't, the town had a McDonald's. It wasn't like, which I've lived in towns where having a McDonald's, to me, constituted a big town, like a quasi-city. Oh man, you've been sick, DJ Sunny Set Up. I'm sorry to hear about that. Drinking grandpa's old cough medicine. That sounds like a metaphor for whiskey. But definitely hope that you are taking care of everybody else, and do take care of us. I don't want to get sick again. I've just gotten clear. It took ages. But yes, it's 6 seasons. So how to protect yourself from COVID-19 and respiratory viruses and so on, according to the Mainichi. And this is common sense advice for Japanese people. But yes, one way to protect yourself from all viruses: wash your hands. Seriously, rigorous and frequent hand washing with soap. It is crucial to the spread. If you want to stop norovirus, colds, flu, and COVID-19, just wash your damn hands, you animals. That's pretty much what they're saying. So washing your hands, all of that. If you don't have access to soap, wear a hand sanitizer. Use a hand sanitizer. Cleaning surfaces also helps, but pretty much just washing your hands, the best thing you can do. So a good reminder just to do that when you go in and out. You've had a 7th COVID jab. I have not had a 7th. I've had like 5 COVID jabs. So I'm like, 50% Borg at the moment. My radio reception has improved dramatically, but I have not been. And I tell you what, right now I would go. I haven't had a flu jab. They normally give them out for free at work, and they didn't do it this year. But if they're around, I'd get a flu jab immediately right now. Oh yeah, definitely. It improved my cell phone reception. Just improved dramatically. I recommend it. Would take it every time. Something else I came back to. So food prices in New Zealand are ridiculous. I went back and getting a milkshake. So New Zealand dollars are easy. They convert currently at 100 yen to the New Zealand dollar, which is, of course, right now it's nearly 160 yen to a US dollar. But having an $11 milkshake, I'm not used to milkshakes being like more than $3 or $4, 300 or 400 yen. These cost like 1,100 yen, and they were good milkshakes made from local fresh fruit and local dairy. Oh, so much butter, so much dairy the whole time I was there. I've got so much calcium. I've got probably, I don't know if it's possible to overdose from calcium. I suppose an overdose from calcium would be like choking on a bone. But I don't know. I've had, between all the meat and all the milk that I've had, in different forms over the last few weeks, I'm definitely doing well for all of that, but it is expensive. That said, coming back to Japan, cabbage, apparently there was some problem with summer being so hot. A lot of the cabbages died or got overexposed to heat at the wrong times. So cabbage that's normally 200 yen currently costs 1,000 yen. So there's stuff like that. Stuff is more expensive than usual, but coming back from New Zealand, nothing here seems expensive anymore. So too much calcium can cause hair loss. Is that true? I mean, I'm pretty sure. Well, there we go. That wouldn't be the reason in my case, but there we go. Interesting one here. I've heard a lot of talk about this. New laws are being proposed that will ban host clubs hosts from having romances with customers. And I know what they're getting at here. This is a trope of Japanese dramas and mangas, and it supposedly is something that anecdotally you hear in the media all the time. It is a common trap that women who go to host clubs, and there's not an insignificant number, it is a big industry. In fact, it used to be you go to Kabukicho, and all the big billboards would be for hostess bars, and there'd be like one corner where there'd be like the gay host bars for men, and there'd be one place for the women. And I remember 20 years ago having like foreign women friends saying, hey, it's everything in Japan is for the guys, and where is the adult entertainment for the women here? Now you go to Kabukicho, and I swear there are probably as many or more host club billboards and so on than there are women, like hostesses. I'm sure there are still more hostess clubs, but the host clubs have such a big profile, and it's become kind of very socially sort of accepted now. A lot of women, particularly just people don't have time for relationships, and people are getting married less and going out with people less. So they, going to a host bar and having a host that you particularly like, that you want to help support to become number one at the place, and giving him presents and having kind of a structured quasi-romance on a kind of a quasi-paid basis with people is something that's definitely grown. However, there is a kind of a notorious thing in Japan that a lot of these host bars are affiliated with hostess and sexual service, miso shobai places, where they actually act as recruits, where they will get women hooked on them, into them, and spending basically all of their spare income on them and getting them into debt strategically, like using, when you talk about grooming and techniques that people use for grooming women by the lover boy method of pretending to be, make them fall in love with you or whatever, and then I don't exactly know how this works, how you can get someone to fall in love with you and then put them out to work for you as a prostitute. But that's basically what these are doing in a structured way as a business. They're getting their women customers to go and pay off their host bar debts by basically filtering them towards the adult entertainment, the porn industry, and prostitution. And a lot of women are sort of saying they've had their lives ruined by this. And it's actually reached the point now where there's a law coming up which will actually ban host bars, including imposing hefty fines if they attempt to form romances with their customers. The thing is, this is a problem I have with my understanding of the concept of grooming to begin with. Is if legitimate things happen in these sorts of contexts. I don't know cases of women marrying hosts, but I definitely know cases of some great marriages I know, including of foreigners, of people who have married people that they met who were working as hostesses. And I know I've met a lot of women who work as hostesses who actually like to work as hostesses because it's a great way, it's a safe, controlled environment where you can meet people who, don't have a lot of time for going to bars and picking people up, but enjoy the company of women and pay for the time to do it in a sort of controlled area. And, to me, it's, hell, even when I'd go out surfing, my Japanese friends would say, hey, let's go hang out at a hostess bar after surfing. And they're just a bunch of women who will keep you company and talk and pour you drinks and laugh at your jokes. I'm kind of like, the drinks are just cheaper if we just go to a regular izakaya, and we're just going to talk anyway. Why do we, but yeah, even at hostess bars, I've had girls like hostesses hit on me. Perhaps they were trying to recruit me as a prostitute. I should have thought of that. Maybe my sexual integrity was in danger when I went to these hostess bars. But certainly it is something that definitely happens the other way around. That they women do get trapped through debt into becoming prostitutes and porn stars, where, but there again, I don't know if those are both based on romantic feelings and whatever, and women doing it of their sort of free choice. It's not clear to me, how you can say that was coercion. Although it is clear some places are doing this as a business, like they are pretending to be in love, they are faking being in love, and they're putting them out to work in the sex industry. But there again, if it's legitimate, like romance, then how do you regulate that, and how do you distinguish that? Maybe it's my middle age. I don't understand that. I think it could legitimately happen, but there again, it's now. I think it's becoming accepted that this is actually a social problem in Japan. That this sort of structured hostess stuff can be actually taken advantage of, like structurally, by these businesses, and they're looking to police it, including cases where there are prominent police are now announcing prosecutions that they are doing for people who have turned women that they've seduced into prostitution. And while I agree there's definitely a need for some sort of protection from that sort of thing, and it is something that happens in Japan, which has such a huge adult sort of, entertainment, which, by the way, is from the completely tame, literally pouring drinks and laughing, watered down drinks and laughing at your jokes and keeping you company, which is a huge industry in Japan, which is fundamentally what hostessing and hosting is, but through the whole spectrum. But interesting one. I don't know how you make this practical, but there we go. 10 minutes to get my squirrels in. So, yeah. Don't put them into debt and have them pay it off by getting into prostitution. Well, that certainly is something that, yes. Well, certainly when you've got them working off debts, that's a pretty bad sign that it's not a normal romantic relationship. But I don't know. Do you ban the relationships? Is that how you are? Is that how you address it? Because I'm not sure that'll work. Next topic, question here. Is 7-Eleven becoming Japan's worst combini, asks Unseen Japan. Apparently, a lot of places are pointing out, wow, this is not friendly with crammed windows. But there's a question going there that with increasing food prices, a lot of shrinkflation is apparently happening at 7-Elevens. And apparently a lot of consumers are going up, and this is what I've been doing. Since I've been working from home a lot. I'm back in the office 5 days a week from this year, by the way. But yeah. When I was working fully from home, instead of going to the convenience store, I'd go to the supermarket for everything. It has everything. It's cheaper. The conveni is good when you're at work, but I've been going to the conveni less, and I've noticed when I go to the convenience store that the stuff. So there are things that I go to the convenience store for, and there are things even that I like 7-Eleven for. But there again, there are certainly things I noticed lately where I feel like 7-Eleven, which if you asked me 10 years ago, what's the best convenience store? A lot of people will say the best convenience store is the convenience store that they go to the most, which is the one nearest to their house, which will typically be on the nearest street corner, actually. And I've been close to 7-Elevens for a long time, and for a long time I felt like 7-Elevens were the gold standard of convenience stores in Japan. By the way, I've had people say when I've said they're a Japanese company that no, what are you talking about? 7-Eleven's an American company. It was originally an American company, but the Japanese franchisee sort of took over 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven itself was struggling in America, and it got taken over by its franchisee. For me, the one thing that I've noticed, certainly my closest corner conveni is a Family Mart, and so I've developed a bias towards Family Mart, although there is an equally close 7-Eleven not too far away. But the cafe latte, it's one thing I get it if it's Cabbage and they're making the Cabbage portions less, but when they've got the cafe latte, the large cafe latte is like half the size in 7-Eleven to the one in Family Mart, and yet the Family Mart one is cheaper and it tastes better. So there's things like that where lately I'm sort of thinking, yeah, if I can, I sort of avoid. I'm starting to avoid 7-Eleven. That said, also their dessert sweets, their sweet stuff, the cakes and so on are not top notch, and I don't think are competitive. They still make the hot dogs there, and a lot of the sort of quick meals that they have there are still pretty good. The breads are pretty good, but yeah, definitely this game is slipping. Gaijin pot here with a bunch of recommended hacks. If you're in a typical Japanese place that basically has no insulation, and I've lived in an extreme version of this. I've lived in a place that was, had literally no insulation. It was literally like a shed that I was living in that was hotter inside during summer and colder inside during winter. And a lot of houses in Japan are like this. The real solution should be, and I don't know, from an energy efficiency perspective, I think Japan could improve its energy efficiency, which is already quite high, by just mandating that you use proper insulation like a lot of countries do. Particularly Japan is such an extreme climate, but since it doesn't do that, some tips, and you should definitely be thinking about this, not just for the winter, also for the summer, just to stop the outside temperatures being the inside temperatures. Wherever you are, but certainly in Japan, trapping heat with curtains, putting on heavier curtains to keep heat in the room, taping the windows, the edges of the windows to not allow drafts. I've heard of this. This is something people do in Hokkaido and so on. If your place is really having trouble keeping heat, people put bubble wrap on the windows. Caulk the gaps around the windows again to avoid drafts. Apply insulation film. Seal your internal doors. Use rugs and carpets. A lot of apartments come bare with sort of flooring, but carpets help. Use a door stopper to stop drafts, keeping doors shut. And certainly adding a humidifier is critical because in the cold, the air gets so dry that you get sick all the time. I suggested just going to the inner sanctum of the house and hiding under a kotatsu. That's what a lot of Japanese people do. The heated tables are great. Just make your apartment your kotatsu. I definitely did that when I lived in Hachioji, the sort of frozen mountainous western part of Tokyo. But yeah, in Japan, they should just build houses with insulation to begin with. This was a funny one. Apparently, a sushi chain in America posted an ad, and let's. Will this work now? Yes, an American sushi chain posted an ad like this. And apparently this is run by Asian people, but they're showing people either fighting over a sushi or handing a sushi over. It makes everybody in Japan immediately jump, because this is the only time that you pass anything from chopstick to chopstick, or that you have two people holding something at the same time with chopsticks, is cremated bones. That's grandpa. When grandpa has been cremated, the part of the funeral ceremony is you take the bones out of the ashes and you put it into an urn and you pass it from person to person with the chopsticks. To do that with food, this is a thing in Japan, having people touching food at the same time, that's a funeral ceremony. So even Japanese people are joking. Maybe they're promising that the sushi contains extra calcium. It literally looks like they're handing dead people's cremated remains. It invokes all sorts of things. It is a faux pas in Japan. And you could say, well, American, and there's lots of comments, well, how are American people supposed to know that? Well, one, you're a sushi restaurant. And two, this is a bit like blackface. The whole thing about the band that did blackface and didn't realize it was offensive in America. Yeah, sure. Sometimes you don't know something is offensive in another culture. Now you know, so don't do it. It's sort of a thing where I think everyone gets a free pass for not knowing once. But is sushi with chopsticks like this, is this the Japanese equivalent of blackface? In a way, it kind of is. It's the same sort of a problem that you can't really. Ignorance is a defense once. And I think, but at the same time, the fact that a place that's promoting, so it's one thing if it was a Chinese restaurant and they were like handing, dim sum or something like that. But this is a freaking sushi place. So how could a sushi place not know the Japanese tradition about that? So yes, that is all of it. Exactly on time. That's all the topics that I actually have for tonight. I'm going to go back to regularly tracking the Japanese news. I was following the Langley Japan podcast just before the show. He was going through the politics stuff. Of course, we have a new ambassador coming into Japan. Parliament's about to resume. There was a interesting podcast. So there was a YouTube thing which I didn't do the link for. Just covering the whole Kobe governor drama. But there's some stuff there, but I'll get more up to speed with the news in Japan now that I'm back here and getting readjusted to the time zone. So I'll get back into the swing of it, but it's good to be back in Japan, back in the normal scheduled time slot. Great to have so many people here, 23 people watching. Remember to leave a like. I do appreciate that. I'm sorry again for the technical issues at the start of the show. I am going to do an after party. I hope there will not be technical issues there. In fact, I'm tempted. Oh, hey, from Gibraltar. Good to have a Ninja Monkey. And actually, yeah, it's funny. I should call out Gibraltar whenever you're joining, because it's another cool place to be here from. So yeah, hang around. The link to the after party. It is if someone could post the link, the link is live anyway on Tokyo Digital Crew. I'll be taking requests tonight. So I've got some new music as well, which I will mix in there. So expect some more technical issues setting that stuff up. Thank you, Aaron, as always. That is awesome. And yes, remember, if you want to keep up with me on new stuff during the week, follow me on Blue Sky. I think I'm going to be posting more there. And I think that's honestly, it's just, it's not an anti-Elon thing. It's just that site is more like Twitter than current Twitter is, if you ask me. Also, if you just want to keep up with me generally and what I'm doing, which isn't so much now, but when I'm traveling and stuff, all my holiday stuff is on Instagram, so you can also follow me there. It's good to be back. It's good to be awake. I'm glad I had a nap before the show. I'm feeling more awake now. So give me a couple of minutes while I set up the after party. And if you're not at the after party, I'll see you back here next week, same time. And have a great 2025, everyone. And yeah, let's set up a meetup and let's pencil in for that end of March period. And I'll see you all soon. Boom. Peace. 57 minutes on time. Good thing about not having so many topics or knowing the news. So yeah, see you soon.